Hey everybody, welcome back to MOG Bass Fishing. Today's video, I'm going to be giving y'all a rundown about what's going on in the Cooper River, baits that I'd be throwing, and just kind of like an overall update of what's going on. It's winter season, that water's mid-50s, and of course it's getting thrown around in South Carolina right now because we're having days where it's low to mid-60s, and we're having days to where it's 20s, going to 50s, back down to 30s. And so the temperature's all around right now in December. But a few of the key baits that I've been using, and I'll tell y'all a little bit later on where I'm using them. But starting off, I'm going to be starting off, of course, with the classic speed worm. Now, this speed worm right here has caught me a lot of fish, and especially if you want to fish those rice fields, you can slow it down, speed it up, you can drop it in the holes, you can pop it out. So there's a lot of different uses with the speed worm. And I'm throwing that on a 4-aught Gamakatsu hook, 1/4 ounce weight, pegged, 16-pound test. Throwing that on a Tatula Elite rod, and I'm throwing it on a Tatula 100 reel. This is an 8 1-to-1. I mean, I love this setup. This is my 7.3. Like, this is my baby right here. It's caught me a whole lot of fish, and great for flipping in the grass. Great for long cast. I mean, it really just gets the job done. Now, the second bait and rod that I'm throwing is just a normal classic chatterbait. This one is kind of like a version like the jackhammer that was made by a buddy of mine. But it's just, I mean, it's basically the same thing as jackhammer or whatever Berkeley's. Just overall a chatterbait. I mean, it really does catch them. I'm throwing that one was a chartreuse. I was also throwing a shad color with a copper blade, which was getting some good bites. That's on 16-pound test. This is a 6 3-to-1 Tatula bait caster, and this is on a should be a Combat Stick Evergreen 7.3. This is actually the jackhammer rod. And it's glass. Both of these setups, they do great. They've caught me a lot of fish in the Cooper River, and especially these past two tournaments that I fished, and the other ones that I will be fishing in later this month. Now, so the areas that I'm really focusing on, okay? So when the water's coming in, I'm really kind of on the outside, on the other side of those rice fields, just kind of looking at the outside pockets. When the water's coming in, I don't really like fishing the main river a lot. I kind of like running to bushy and messing around in there. But when the water is at the top of coming in and just about to be high tide, I'll run into the rice fields. And that is when I think you can get like the most work put in. I mean, of course, that water is 3 to 4 feet in the rice field. So especially if you have like a king tide or anything like that, you can spend a few hours in those rice fields just fan casting around. I mean, I'll go and mow any rice field that I really can, especially if the tidal current's not pushing them out or pulling them in really bad, and just mess around. I mean, I'm throwing these baits, slow rolling them, I'm speeding them up, I'm popping them, and using the light scope and using the electronics. And if you don't even have them, really you just want to focus on it. If you catch one, pinpoint that and keep on casting to that area, because usually when you catch one, there's going to be a lot more that are in that area, just because the Cooper River bass, they just like grouping up. If there's a shell bed there, or there's just a hole, or a lot of the times you'll have these grass where the grass kind of just stops, so it's like the sand pocket, and they'll sit in that because when the water goes all the way down, they need somewhere to go. So they'll sit in there, and when that water's up, it's perfect because that bait is coming in or going out, and they can just go right up from that hole, take a few bites, and then come right back down. So you can use these chatterbaits and the speed worm to really kind of get it to act like a bait fish or a worm going right above that hole. So then they see it, shoot up, boom, reaction bite. So, and the main thing is those are just two moving baits. So whenever I'm in these rice fields, I like to move, unless, of course, I hook into one that I'm in that area. But it's hard to just throw a drop shot in these ginormous rice fields, because if you're throwing that drop shot, you're going to be dragging that thing all day, and it takes forever to move a lot of ground. Now, if I catch one or two in an area, of course, there's a school there, then yes, I'll be dragging something through there. But if not, then I'm throwing a reaction bite, and I'm waiting, and I'm covering as much as that rice field as I can, because a lot of the times, you might fish the whole rice field, but there might be this one, like, 100-foot circle that they're actually in. I mean, I've found that thousands of times, and usually once you find it, then it'll be there for a few days before they decide to move, because like this past weekend, me and my uncle, I had found a hole basically like the week before. We pulled up there this weekend, Boom, 4 pounder. Boom, 3.5 pounder. Boom, 2.5 pounder. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like once you find those holes, you can usually catch fish out of them for a while. So especially like for tournaments, if you have them like back to back or you have multi-day tournaments, if you can find those holes in the rice fields, they end up holding a lot more They end up holding a lot more fish than mats. Now, don't get me wrong, there's big fish in mats, and you can catch big fish in mats. And I'm not just throwing down mats. I love mat fishing, and if I could throw it in mats all day and catch 15, 18 pounds, I would. I personally have not found that type of fish in the mats around the river. Maybe I haven't fished enough of them or things like that. But just being further up south, these boys have just made me some scoper fisherman. So I've just been using it as in my scope for chatterbait and everything like that. But I think the perfect mix is if you were gonna go out and fish a tournament on the Cooper River, I would say go fish the rice fields, try to find you a few schools, and if you can, then use the rest of your time and fish the mats and really try to find where the big fish are in the mats. And usually kind of the same thing for the rice fields. If you catch like one or two in the mats, they're going to kind of stay in that same area kind of like forever. Like really, it's just whenever you find those fish in those matted areas, then they're kind of always going to be there. So you can go and you can run through those mats again in a later date and most likely catch big fish if you caught big fish there a few days prior. So yeah, that is my two-piece on the Cooper River right now and what's going on. Hopefully y'all can take something away from this, and hopefully y'all can use some of my knowledge about the Cooper River to your own benefit. And hope y'all have a good one. See ya.